All of a sudden, a voice from the siren speaker was heard. We repeat, in the city of Yokohama at Kanagawa Prefecture, a kaiju has emerged. We repeat, in the city of Yokohama at Kanagawa Prefecture, a kaiju has emerged. Every resident in the vicinity is advised to seek safety as soon as possible. The strength of this kaiju was level 6. Doesn't seem like there will be any threat of an emergence-induced tsunamis occurring this time around. All of a sudden, a voice from the siren speaker was heard once again. Every resident in the vicinity is advised to seek safety. Cough was heard from the siren. Oh, the news just came in. It appears that the giant kaiju has been stopped. Kafka watching from a distance with his binoculars. He seemed to be a bit annoyed. Kafka says, sheesh, they made one big mess with this one, and all the members of Monster Sweeper Inc. have thought to themselves this one definitely gonna be overtime. The crew members seem to be hyping themselves up for a long day of work. They all shout, all right, let's get to it. Replying, yes, sir, as the Monster Sweeper Inc. members get ready to clean up the remains of giant kaiju. It appears that the 3rd Division team members are greeted by a crowd of individuals who are cheering them on as if they are some sort of heroes following their successful neutralization of a kaiju. A sound was heard from abandoned portable TV. We repeat, the kaiju that emerged today has been neutralized. To those in the affected area, please be on the lookout for your residual kaiju. We hear Kafka Hibino, age 32 member of a Monster Sweeper Inc., shouting, that's not good. The bones of this kaiju are really tough to cut through. He's saying to himself he might need the heat chainsaw around over here. As he looks back, he sees a member of Monster Sweeper Inc. carrying what it seems to look like an organ part of the giant kaiju. Kafka's face lights up in shock and raises his hand after realizing what one of his colleagues were holding. Whoa, you shouldn't be carrying that so soon. If you happen to overstimulate it, it'll... Bang! Loud explosion was heard and everyone from the company starts rushing towards the explosion to see what made that sound. Seeing the guy wasn't too injured, he was carried to safety and treated. Things like this from the 3rd Division are always such a hazardous jumble. Difficult to distinguish between the organs of the kaiju. The way they blast through the kaiju leaves organs unrecognizable. Kafka seems to be unsure and says, but man oh man, they really expect us to finish this by the end of the week? Sound was heard from behind Kafka. Hey, Kafka, plans have changed. You will go to different section that needs more men. Kafka says, where to, sir? The manager of the company puts on a serious face and says, intestines. Kafka is in shock from what the manager has said to him. No, anything but that. And tries to get away with no success as his manager has grabbed hold of him. While in a corner, his workmate is laughing inside, saying, my condolences, bud, with a smirk face. Kafka arrives to his next job and grabs his stomach after taking a quick inhale like he about to puke. One of his workmates say, hey, you will be in a bad situation if you're going to throw up in that suit. Kafka is being hard on himself and says to himself, at least for the time being, you may say goodbye to your appetite as he continues to clean the substance of the kaiju. Kafka returns home and jumps right on top of his bed and says, I'm so tired. He can still smell the kaiju intestines he'd been working on all day. He suddenly hears TV come on and hears news reported talk about today's successful kaiju hunt and neutralization. He also states that Mina Ashiro is the individual who is accountable for bringing these forces together, and she is the one who is responsible for today's success. Just at the age of 27, she has already beaten hundreds of kaiju. Kafka looks and sees her on the TV and has a quick flashback of their childhood days looking over the burning city, while Mina cries and says, let's wipe out all the kaiju together. Kafka comes back to reality and says, how did I ever end up like this? He's beating himself up saying, don't think about those things. While trying to look at his job positively, he adds, cleanup is an important public service. He gets to live in a good living conditions in a nice apartment and eat what he likes. That should be enough, he says, damn it. Kafka, on the way to work, he realized that he had bit too much to drink yesterday night. He puts on a grumpy man face and says, my head hurts. His hangover is making him feeling awful. He blames his hangover on yesterday's news that we've seen on TV and special features that are responsible for his headache. As he arrives to his company base, he greets everyone. As he was about to clock in, he was called by one of his crew members saying, there you are, Kafka. Come over here. We got someone new that joined our team today as a part-timer that wants to join up with the defense force. His name is Reno Ichikawa and is 18 years old. All over a sudden conversation flips on Kafka, and his crew member makes a joke. Kafka here tried to join the defense force once upon a time. Says Kafka called it quits and became a permanent fixture around here. Kafka feels so bad and awkward he says, "Shoot me already," and tells his crew member, "Stop it already, Toku. You are making it awkward for the new kid too." The newcomer developed an abrupt curiosity regarding the reasoning behind Kafka's decision to abandon the defense force. "Would you mind if I ask why, sir?" Kafka's face looked shocked and answered, saying, he tried all he could, but in the end the competitions in the defense force was pretty tough, and that everyone has their limits, and that he crashed right into his. Kafka starts laughing, trying to brighten up the mood, and says, "One of these days you will know what he means when he hits the old age." The newcomer's face looked angry and says that he will never understand him. As long as he lives, he will never give up in any circumstances, and that he doesn't want to understand what Kafka meant either. After awkward exchange of words, the newcomer says, "I'm going to get ready and suited up." Toku at the back, still listening to two of them having heated exchange of words, he says to himself, "I thought this two would hit it off pretty easily." Kafka is so ashamed after hearing newcomer's thoughts. No matter how he had explained, it would look pathetic every time. His thinking to himself, is giving up really that bad? "All right, everyone, let's get to it." From the looks of it, it seemed that the manager was giving them their position and placements for their cleanup job, and says Toku and his people will be teaming up with other cleaning up companies to clean and dispose the arm of a kaiju, and that their contract states all undamaged muscles or fibers are to be turned over to Takatsuki Development. There was one more position that was being called out to them, and one of the members that would be assigned to that job would be newcomer Reno Ichikawa. You guessed it, that job is intestines cleanup. Hearing this, Kafka became happy and says, "Ah, yeah, you deserved it, punk." Soon as Kafka says that, his word came back to bite him. Manager says, "Kafka, you're on intestines cleanup along with Reno." Kafka in shock says, "Me too?" "For 2 days straight, sir." Manager says to Kafka, what can he say? He's great at cleaning intestines. Kafka gives up arguing and runs to his position. Company manager looks at Kafka while he runs and says, "This guy always rises to the occasion." In the end, and if he had found his footing, he could have been a fine division officer. Kafka and his crew have gathered around the small pitch to enjoy some food. After a tough day of work, Reno feels a bit sick and is unable to eat anything. He still smells like the intestines of a kaiju. Seeing this reaction, Kafka laughs it off. Oh yeah, he's definitely feeling it, but from Kafka's face expressions, he might be in the same shoe. Kafka gets a bit worried about Reno and asked if that was the only food he has bought with him today, and if he was going to eat it. Reno replies, "I lost my appetite, sir." Kafka grabs multivitamin drink and throws at Reno's head and says, "Take it, you can have it. If you won't eat anything today, you wouldn't be able to last the afternoon." Reno says he's fine and won't need them, but Kafka keeps on giving him things, such as nose blockers to stop the smell, and makes everything easier around intestines. Reno insists that he doesn't need them, but Kafka had enough and says, "Stop playing around and plug up your nose already, come on." Reno says, "Stop it, I'm serious. This is a unashamed abuse of authority." And that's all. Great job, boys. You all worked very hard today. When crew members mention that they are leaving, Kafka responds, "Okay, nice work, guys. See you around." Kafka thought to himself, well, at least the foulest part is behind us, and gets jumped scared by Ichikawa. "Hey, sir." Kafka replies, "Hey, Ichikawa, worked well today. Why did you come back? You still want your payback back from lunch?" "No, nothing like that. Thank you, sir. Because of you, I made it through my first day at work, and I really appreciate that very much." "Ah, no problem," says Kafka. "Well, that's all I had to say, sir. See you tomorrow. Oh, wait, one more thing, sir. I got new intel. The Defense Force, they're raising the maximum age for new recruits to 33. It might have something to do with decreasing birth rates. I know it's none of my business, but when I seen you, you looked really torn up when you was talking about how you gave up joining the Defense Force. I mean, I really don't care if you go or not, and if I got the wrong idea back there, you should feel free and keep on living your quitter's lifestyle. Take care." "Ichikawa," Kafka calls out. "Thanks, You're a much better guy than I previously gave you credit for. Ichikawa responds in embarrassed face, listen, that's not the... Before he get to finish the sentence, Yoju has emerged from the ground. Ichikawa looks back in fear, and his body freezes and wasn't able to move because of his fear, but Kafka was there to save him. A Yoju? Kafka saves him again, kicking Yoju right in the face. Kafka shouts, with a serious face, Ichikawa, run for it. Get out of here, as fast as you can now. Once you get to safety and you're out of harm's way, then send out an alert. No, sir, you'll be by yourself if I leave. Kafka replies, you really think two people being here would make any difference? You're dead focused on joining the defense force, aren't you? What will the act of dying here prove? Hearing this, Ichikawa gets shocked and puts his head down and starts walking away. We get to see Yoju and Kafka face off. Kafka holding a water pipe in a standing position. Yoju swings fast and damages the water pipe and put a deep cut on Kafka's chest. Kafka, thinking to himself, oh man, I'm really screwed, and think, how did everything end up like this? And has a flashback of his childhood memory with him and Mina standing on top of a mountain looking over a destroyed city. He remembered saying, our home's the school, all of it has been destroyed, huh, Mina? She answers, yeah. Little Kafka shouts in frustration, you lousy kaiju jerks! And that he was so close on beating every stages that Gurumon had. Mina confused, is that all you worried about right now? Mina said, I'm sad about Miko ending up dying. Little Kafka says, Miko the calico, right? They both shout at the same time, I'm going to join the defense force. And they glare at each other. And Kafka says, get real, what's a brat like you even talking about? Mina answered, you do know that you still in a grade school, right, Kafka? Okay then, we'll just see who becomes a cooler officer in the end. And let's wipe out every single one of the kaiju together. Flashbacks have ended and Kafka comes back to reality and says, this shouldn't have ended up like this. And we can see Yoju coming towards Kafka really fast, and as he was about to bite him, Ichikawa comes to the rescue, slamming the Yoju in the head with a street sign. Kafka shouts, you idiot, why did you come back? Ichikawa said he already sent out the alert. Kafka says, that's not what I'm asking. Ichikawa answered, if I were to abandon you here, sir, how can I ever join the defense force? The defense force meant to be saving others, not abandoning them. Kafka finally realized that he was so powerless and that he still hasn't changed a bit. He still is unable to protect anyone or anything, not even a rookie, from his job, and screams out, damn it, as loud as he could. Just before Yoju swallowed Ichikawa, we see Yoju's body starting to get giant holes around its body, and then it bursts. We get to see Kafka's and Ichikawa's face almost both in fear and in relief. They hear someone saying, target, destroy, there's a man down, and Kafka looks back to see who it was, and it was no other than Mina Ashiro, his childhood friend. Kafka's face is in disbelief. Mina says, Igarashi Takaragi, see to people that are wounded. The rest of the officers follow me. We will begin sweeping out the area for any remaining Yoju. Kafka and Ichikawa both ended up in a South Yokohama General Hospital. Kafka staring at his hand, reflecting on what has happened today, and says Mina is really something special. That thing that he seen today nearly took his life, and Ichikawa's was a thing from nightmares, and Mina really took it down like it was nothing. Just in a few seconds, and she's so powerful and out of his league now that he could never stand next to her fighting kaiju side by side. As he was reflecting on what happened, Ichikawa says, hey sir, if you didn't save me today, I would most likely be dead right now, and wanted to say, what you did back then was really cool. That's Ichikawa's way of saying thank you for saving my life. Hearing these words, Kafka has a quick flashback of his childhood promise. We'll just see which of us becomes the cooler officer. Then Ichikawa says, I really think you should join the defense force and pursue your dreams. Ichikawa forgets to act cool and says, it's up to you. And I couldn't care less. But just about to finish he was saying, he sees Kafka punching his head saying you're right, and that he shouldn't be running away from the truth forever. He needs to grow up, man up, and do what's best for him. Enough is enough. Thank you, Ichikawa. You really are a stand-up guy. I will do my very best, and I'm going to shoot for the defense force one more time. As he finished his sentence, he sees something that looks like a dragonfly mixed with kaiju. Kafka is in shock. Seeing this, he said, wah? In confusion, forget seeing it, it even spoke and says, I found you, and flying right into Kafka's mouth, forcing his way in. Ichikawa hears Kafka in distress. and stand up to check on his and asks, sir? Are your wounds acting up, or what? He says in shock of seeing Kafka transforming into what it seems to be a kaiju. Kafka still not knowing that he has transformed into kaiju, he also says, "Wah," and turns around into a window glass and sees his reflection. They both scream, "Wah!" And Kafka starts to scream, "Ichikawa, it's me, it's me. No, Ichikawa, it's really me, I'm telling you." Ichikawa, being scared for his life, says, "Hey, don't back away." There's an elderly patient walking past their room and sees Kafka that is already transformed, and the elderly man was so scared he nearly had a heart attack. Elderly man grabs a phone, probably trying to call the defense force. Ichikawa remembered what defense force can do and say, "Let's get out of here, sir." We skip to Mina's phone ringing. She answered her phone and says, "Right, sir. No, not a problem at all for her, and we'll deploy her team as soon as possible and we'll have the kaiju put down." Going back to Kafka, is starting to freak out. What the hell's going on with me? He asked Ichikawa if he looked at his face, there must be a trace of him left in there somewhere. Ichikawa replies, "No, you are completely and utterly terrifying." They both look by the door side and still sees an elderly man in shock, scared out of his mind, dropped on a floor. Ichikawa suggests, "All right, we've got to clear up this misunderstanding," and asks Kafka to flash a smile at the elderly man. Kafka, being Kafka, says, "Oh, a smile? Good idea." And he smiled. He looked so scary doing it that Ichikawa says, "Oh man, no way is that ever gonna work." The elderly man passed out after seeing Kafka smile in his kaiju form. He might even be dead, so Kafka goes and checks on him saying, "Hey old timer, are you all right?" And he puts his hand on a wall as he was leaning down. Just a little touch on a wall has destroyed the wall completely. Both Ichikawa and Kafka are in shock after seeing such power. Kafka is in such disbelief, he asks himself, "Wait, did I do this? Like really, am I really kaiju?" Ichikawa screams, "The division officers are coming. We need to leave now, sir." Kafka looks down the hallway and sees everyone is coming out of their rooms because of all the noise he's being making. Some of them even say, "Whoa, is that a kaiju? Staying in a hospital will probably do more harm than good," says Kafka, then goes and grabs a window frame and just with one little swing off his hand, he blasts through the window and the wall, and once again Kafka, shocked from his newly founded powers, and says, "Whoops, what's the deal with this body?" And both jump out of the window to escape the defense force. Once again we can hear the siren speaker, "Out for our evacuation to the nearest shelter or shut all your windows and take protective measures." Ichikawa, still unsure if that is still Kafka, asked, "Okay, just to be sure, you really are who you say you are, right?" Kafka, still getting used to his body, is unable to keep a normal body form and even says that he's still unsure if he is still him. Ichikawa is so scared he screams, "Gah, what are those things? Did you active some type of special mode or something?" All of a sudden Kafka's tongue expands and catches one of the craws and eats it. Kafka says, "Look at me, Ichikawa, I'm eating a bird alive." "Oh man," replies Ichikawa, "that's just disgusting and sick, sir." Kafka gets sudden urge to pee and says, "This is not good. I am a grown-up, a human being. I don't want to piss in the middle of a public street." Kafka looks down and doesn't see the usual peeing hole and asks himself where would he even pee from theirs. Nothing down there. Kafka couldn't hold the urge of peeing and his body starts to pee from an unusual place. Both Ichikawa and Kafka are in shock from what they just seen. Ichikawa says, "Oh no, sir." Kafka, saddened by this, he started to think that no one would ever dare to take him as a bride now, and says this in despair, "Just leave me here to die." But wait, Kafka says to Ichikawa, "What's gonna happen to him now?" Kafka, being Kafka, asked the most random question, "Think I have a shot at defense force now?" Ichikawa replies, "Nope, nope, nope, nopey, nope, not a damn chance." Think, Kafka. You'll just end up being target. They wouldn't even waste time putting you down. Kafka came to his senses, says, "You're totally right. Damn it." And just when he decided to catch up to Mina, this happened to him. Now he isn't sure how that's possible, now that he has this body, and he asked himself, Wait, does this mean that he will never be able to join the defense force? Ichikawa says great. It's cordoned off. It must be deserted inside, and starts to run towards it. He didn't see Kafka move, so he looks back and sees Kafka scratching his head and saying, "Something's coming." Ichikawa asked officers. No.
If you would like continuation of this manga, like and comment down below.